All right. Hi. So, just want to officially welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for doing this. Uh,
You're welcome. Nice to be here.
so, Henry, what have you been up to currently? Where are you working and what do you do there?
So my day job at the moment is working at Believe,
Hmm.
which is a global digital distribution company and artist services company. Um, in India, actually, we also have a live business. We've acquired a number of companies, but we are, yeah, we're also involved in the live business over there as well as in France. And what I do there is I I'm in what we call the digital retail team, which is essentially managing the partnerships um, uh, between us, who represent labels and artists, and the streaming services.
Okay. So,
So
like
I
the
have to,
platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and
yeah, that's right, yeah.
okay, are they only platforms that stream music, or are they also some kind of other companies that are in the digital business, like some kind of an e-commerce company or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's quite a few different kinds of companies. It obviously evolves. So before, it used to be more downloads. It started
Right.
out with iTunes, of course, and but now we're really looking at mostly streaming services, but also some download services. So obviously iTunes is still open, uh, and um, and there's a few kind of more specialized download services such as Beatport,
People. Yeah.
and
Something like a
but
band camp
also,
or something.
sorry.
Something like a band camp or
Yeah, not really Bandcamp. Bandcamp, um, it's more kind of direct to
yeah.
artist, direct to label kind of service. Um, but yeah, the real kind of innovation in the last few years has been user-generated content platforms. So platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They've all acknowledged the importance of music on their services,
Yeah.
and so they've engaged with the music industry and formed relationships, partnerships with companies like Believe.
Right. So before we, speak about what Belief does in more detail, I would just want to back you up a little bit and talk about where you come from, your background in the music industry, and uh, what all have you done. Um, I think starting from 2010 is what I could gather from the internet. You started off as a label assistant at Erased Tape Records.
Yeah.
I've done quite a bit of homework on you.
Yeah, I started. Well, I went to uni and did commercial music, and so I started as a musician, and so I kind of experienced the creative, artistic side, and I toured a little bit, and but I kind of got to understand the creative process, and I also managed the band. But then I went into the music industry really, and as you say, I was working briefly at Erased Tapes Records, um, directly with the founder. It was a really useful experience because obviously it's now become a huge label, and
Yeah.
the founder was quite a visionary. Um, so that was a really useful experience. But then I went into working in publishing actually, um, working at Bucks Music Group in London,
Right.
in the A&R department. So I was the A&R director's assistant, and so I was uh, handling the diaries of songwriters, um, sending out royalty reports, not reports, royalty statements to all of our clients, and sort of had sort of a creative role of trying to find new writers to sign and trying to find new artists to put with our existing roster of writers.
Right.
Um,
So
and
Music Group
so
were almost like a pioneering company in publishing. Would you say that because of the the artists that they ended up signing when um, in their early days, I think, with Mr. David signing deals with the Rolling Stones and David Bowie.
Oh yeah,
So I
yeah, that's true actually.
detected the Bucks Music Group's history a little bit and found out that Mr. David Platts was um, sort of like a pioneer in cracking big publishing deals, and he ended up giving the bands like Black Sabbath, the Rolling Stones, and David Bowie their first publishing deals,
Mm.
which I thought
Yeah,
was
you're
quite
right.
a big deal.
You're right. Actually, I'd forgotten about that. But you're right. It was one of the first publishers. Started out in the '60s, and yeah, you're right. It did sign some big acts who, in a time when people didn't really understand what publishing was.
Exactly, yeah. Because in
Yeah.
India also still the whole infrastructure for publishing is not as tight as it seems it is outside India, with the whole process very streamlined, and process of finding other songwriters to work with artists and stuff, which is actually a very core part of what publishing is.
Mm.
And even the whole royalty calculations, like you said, having the royalty statements and all that, quite a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. I tried to do it on my own, and I realized that there really is a value to having an established publisher
Yeah.
on board if you're an artist or even a label, you know.
So when you started out working for Erase Tapes and then in publishing, did you know at that point that you already wanted to work in the music industry?
Yeah, I've always wanted to work in the music industry ever since I was about 14. I mean, no, I didn't want to work in the music industry. I didn't even know what it was, but you know, I was into music when I was, you know, from a young age. So I just music's just always been what I've done, and it's just been going from kind of being a musician to being kind of an A&R to, you know, being a more kind of a legal person and so on.
Yeah, you did a gig at Gargantua Music in 2016 as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So after publishing, I went back to university and did a master degree in law in intellectual property. And so my part-time job while I was doing that was working in library in this production music library company called Gargantuan, who specialize in trailer music.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I was doing kind of a lot of digital coordination stuff, uh, preparing releases to be, because obviously metadata is so important, especially in library music, because when you send your music to a broadcaster and they use it, then the information has to be very clear so that the chain of people who receive the music and the information about what music is performed in the advert, for example, or the TV show,
Yeah.
has to has to has to be attached to the music, so that when the royalty collection society needs to pay, then they know who to pay.
The right credits have to reflect in every stage of the process for the collection of royalties to be accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to, they make these softwares which embed all the metadata into the music files, and so you have to you have to do that with for about sort of 5 or 6 different formats. You know, different bits, bit depths, and you know, different standards of quality.
These
And
softwares were created by the company itself, or were they like a third-party created softwares?
no, the software you can, they're third party. Yeah, you buy a license to use them.
Okay. So, was it related to the law stuff that you were learning? This job of yours, was it connected to that in any way?
Not this one, no, because it was the job I got. I just needed a part-time job while I was at university, So it wasn't particularly connected. No, it's really the first job I got after that. After I graduated, was the job I have at Believe now, which is when I got, thanks to my intellectual property masters.
So that was the intellectual property is connected to the law in some right. So it's connected to the law of intellectual property, not the music related stuff.
Yeah, it's copyright law mostly.
Right.
Yeah, copyright law, and the course generally was called entertainment law because they capture film industry, TV,
Right.
music, sports as well. When you look at all of those kinds of realms of entertainment, you find that actually the law that applies is all quite similar to contract law, copyright law, trademark, and sometimes patents, but not often.
And did you sort of uh, did this masters help you in your job anywhere directly? Your knowledge of these things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I spend my time now reading through contracts, so it is really useful to have that awareness of the different, for example, the different weight that different contractual clauses. Sorry, the weight that different contractual clauses can have. If you breach, if you breach one clause, it's not necessarily as serious as if you break another clause. So it's really useful in that level. But also, when you learn about copyright, you learn about the variety of exclusive controls that copyright provides the creator, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so it helps to have a clear understanding of that, so that when you're looking at a contract or you're approached by a streaming service and they say, we want the rights, so this is our service, we want your music to be available in our app so that our users can make a video and then put a song over it and then post it. It's important to have an understanding of exactly how that is exploiting the recording. Is it a distribution? Is it a copy? Is it a derivative work?
Because in concept, it sounds very easy that you take a song on an app and make videos to it, and it's as simple as that. Excuse me. But when you talk about how it binds with the law in the way, what rights does the artist have to the revenue that generates, is a very complicated thing. Because overall, the whole process of calculating royalties and stuff is complicated when it combines audio visual platforms with um, performances and stuff. So it's quite a complicated topic, and it's good to have that awareness for you to be working in the industry with those. So do you see yourself somehow, maybe managing artists or doing the law side of things in the music industry? Do you see yourself doing or performing those kind of roles, or are you more interested in the digital side of things in the business?
Do you mean, do I see myself becoming a full lawyer?
Yeah. Or an artist manager who has a better idea of the rights for the artists and helps artists in that way?
I've often thought about managing artists, but it's not something I've acted on. No, maybe in the future. I'm busy enough at the moment, to be honest. But yeah, no. And for regarding being a lawyer, again, I've thought about it, but actually, working where I am now, I believe I'm doing. I'm a quasi lawyer. But I think it's more exciting because if you're at a law firm, you're you're kind of on the outside. You're not, being inside of a business, you're really on the front line. You're
Right.
talking to all of the to all of the DSPs directly, and you're really representing a catalog.
Yeah.
Whereas lawyers in law firms, they have to wear suits and ties,
Yeah.
and it's just a different culture, and
For sure.
people go to them to sort problems out for them.
Yeah.
There's no follow through. I
Yeah.
like the way I work now with Believe. It's good because I get to see kind of um, relationships from start to finish.
And you get to be on the more creative side of things doing this job currently. But speaking of creating things, you had founded Not Like That in 2014. I just wanted to touch upon what that was, how that experience was like, and what exactly was it. Because I mean, when I saw the website and all, it looked like such a present thing because your website is, so aesthetic. It's a really cool design. So I really thought that this was, and the stuff that you were doing back then is something so relevant today, uh, uh, because live streaming and all is blowing up right now.
Mm.
So what was it like? Um,
It was hard. It was hard, but yeah, it started out as a label, but it was also a publishing company. So that's the publishing company I set up to try and make as much money as possible. Because I could see that making them just from recordings was quite difficult. So it was a publishing company and a record label, and we also started doing events too, because we found that. The events that yield the highest revenue. You need a lot of streams on Spotify to make to make money, and so we thought we'd do events to make some money like more quickly. But yeah, it was really hard. It was really hard because if you listen to the tracks and it's very niche. It's very
Right.
niche music. So the audience is very small,
Yeah.
and we ultimately we never had any budgets for anything, like very small budgets. So um, it was a challenge to market the releases enough to really make a difference. And but I think I learned a huge amount doing Not Like That, because I was really doing everything on my own, having very little experience really running a record label. And so one of the lessons that I learned was that you have to you have to it's better to have a small number of artists in your roster and have a uh, long relationship with them, so that you can really focus your energy and you can build them bit by bit.
Right.
What we were doing um, was working with artists on a release by release basis. So if we put in a lot of effort into one EP by an artist and it did well, then that artist would not be committed to the label beyond it. They could take that success and go to another label.
Right.
And so that was one mistake that we made.
But it also
Um,
has a flip side, right? Like, for example, if that release didn't do well, then they would get discouraged and probably leave the label anyways. I mean, did that kind of thing ever happen?
yeah, but it didn't. Well, it didn't happen because we didn't have those kinds of relationships. But yeah, I mean, it's down to the relationship, really. It happens even at major labels where the first album doesn't work, and it takes uh, more work and collaboration between the artist and the label to come up with maybe a slightly new sound or a slightly new image, a slightly different marketing
Absolutely.
strategy. Um, but Coldplay is an example. They were not. It took a while for them to become big, and now obviously they're huge. Um, David Bowie is another example. It took him a few albums to become successful. Um,
Right.
so I think if you're really committed with an artist and you have a contract that spans maybe two albums or several EPs, then you can kind of work and maybe change up the strategy if what you start out doing doesn't work.
Right. So, and then how long did the Not Like That project go on for? And after that, was it when you switched over to a job at Believe?
Not Like That was always what I did in my spare time.
Okay.
And it ended really. Uh, I think it was at the beginning of 2019. Yes, the beginning of 2019 is when we did our final show. Um, I I was working at Believe, and I did another degree after my master's. So so I just couldn't do the label anymore, and to be honest, I I had lost the appetite for it. But it was a really interesting project, because part of the project, part of the company idea was that the visual element and the experience, the experiential element, was just as important as the music. So whenever we put out EPs or singles, we would always complement it with very strong visuals, album covers, videos, interactive websites. And it was just the same ethos went into the events as well. We were very we always had visuals. I purchased a few projectors. I was working with a lot of visual artists to create content to be projected at the events. So really, the ethos was immersion in
Right.
this kind of bright computer game,
Yeah.
digital world.
I've seen that video of yours on YouTube. I think that was the last party you did, which had like a computer screen or something, and within that was the video of the event.
Oh
So
yeah,
the aesthetics and all, I mean, overall, the whole vibe of your label was so futuristic in a way, with all the technology and stuff, which is why I felt like, this was such a current thing. And maybe I think the Gen Z would really relate to music like this and stuff like this. It seemed like that.
yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
Maybe we were just too ahead of our time.
good time, for sure.
but yeah, I think that's a good example, because that event that you're referring to is one that we did in collaboration with a friend of mine who runs a retro gaming events company. So he gets hired to go and set up loads of Mega Drives and Nintendo 64s, and all the way up to Xboxes, and essentially he just creates a video game party. So we did a collaboration where we hired out this venue, and he set up all of his games everywhere, and we set up the DJ booth, speakers, and our visuals, and we also had interactive visuals that night. So we had an Xbox Connect, and so facing the crowd, and so the movement of people dancing in front of it would affect the visuals.
Okay, that's so cool. I mean, uh, it does feel like immersion in that sense, because you have like something so intuitive happening around you, and that's actually a really cool experience. But again, like you said, it's a very niche thing, and uh, it it did sound good for something to do in your free time, which is what you did, and got a great experience from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I
So
made loads of good contacts as well, because all the artists that I work with, and the music artists, the visual artists,
yeah,
it just creates a whole international contact base.
yeah, for sure. And let's now talk about what's going on at Believe. I tried looking up the term of digital retailer online and couldn't find much. So I was quite curious to know what exactly is a digital retailer, and what's your job at Believe, and maybe if you could just talk about what Believe does as a company, because they seem to have like a big uh, share in terms of what they do in the music industry, with notable names on their roster. So I would love to know what Believe does as well.
So in terms of Believe as a company, what we do, first thing to mention is that Believe acquired TuneCore in a few years ago. So and TuneCore is important because it forms the kind of foundation of what we're describing as a kind of services pyramid. If you think about a pyramid, and uh, the whole pyramid is distribution services and artist services. So at the bottom you have TuneCore, which is a direct to artist and label distribution service. So it's a kind of hands-off service which allows artists and labels to take care themselves of uploading and distribution. And so that's kind of our entry stage service that we offer. The next level up is Believe Distribution Services. So this is again distribution, but it's a more curated approach to providing labels and artists with distribution services, and so for this we provide a better or a greater service. And then the final stage of the pyramid at the top is the artist services, artist and development services section, which is where we work directly with artists, and we we provide more kind of 360 service. So we obviously distribute, but we also provide lots of marketing services for them.
There's also video and sync services included, I think.
Yeah, there's also sync as well. So we've got a sync team, and where we can, where artists are happy for us to look after their sync rights, then our sync team pitches their tracks to appear in TV shows, video games, and so on.
So that's a team that maybe works with music supervisors closely.
Yes, that's right.
And that's also something that the music libraries do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Music libraries are kind of specialists in synchronization, but the difference is that Believe works with really commercial music, or what we sometimes call premium music, whereas production libraries deal with library music, which is music obviously made for visuals for media, which is often doesn't have an artist attached to it, and there's no kind of marketing involved really in the albums themselves.
Right. That's more like a general broad market for all kinds of music with the music libraries. Like they have a way bigger catalog, where I believe must be working with a handful of artists in that space.
Yeah, that's right.
But mainly Believe does distribution as its main trade, like for its bread and butter. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Mostly distribution, and but we are
an A&R team as well. I think there is.
Yeah, there are A&R teams, but there are A&R teams insofar as they work with our in-house labels, because as well as the distribution side of the business, we also have a number of labels which operate as regular labels. We've got 3 in the UK, and we've got several in France. I'm not sure how many, but yes, there are A&Rs as well. It's yeah. And
one thing also, sorry, do you want to continue?
I was going to carry on from answering your question. Your initial question
was the digital retail part.
Yeah, that part. So I hope I've given a kind of sort of complete picture of what Believe does. Um, Maybe just to finish it off in terms of the scope of the company,
Right.
um, they Believe was one of the first digital distributors to make its presence known outside of kind of leading Western markets. So they very quickly approached the Asian market. They went to India, they went to Southeast Asia, China, and they started signing quite big labels in countries like Indonesia at a time when the labels didn't really know what distribution was. They didn't really understand the value of downloads.
Right.
So it grew. The network grew very quickly. Um,
They got
uh,
share of the market which was untapped.
exactly, yeah. And then as digital became more important very quickly, we just had these relationships in place, and the company was able to kind of grow with the market. So we managed to retain a lot of these clients.
Right.
And so now we've got, as I said, a big presence in India. We've got about 20 staff in the office in China. We've got staff in Taiwan, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and we're also uh, focusing on developing the African market. And so we've hired about 7 people throughout the African continent who are speaking directly to the artists and the labels and trying to push the market along, because it's still very, very early over there,
Right.
and the same in Latin America and North America.
So earlier you said that Believe acquired few companies, live companies in India and even France and a couple of other countries. Uh, what kind of companies are these, and what kind of market share have they developed in India? Is it a digital? I mean, sorry, is it a digital distribution business or is it something to do with live music?
It is live music. I think I don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest, because it's not my area.
Right.
But as I understand it, it's concert promotion and booking.
Okay.
So we sign certain artists to the roster, and we I think they're exclusive agreements, and we take care of their tour bookings.
Okay. Okay. And now to your role.
Yeah, so digital retail. I agree with you. It's a new term. I've the only time I've seen it is on Music Business Worldwide. If you've been on there, there's a job section, and one of the
Okay.
categories
Ah,
is digital retail.
okay.
And I guess it's kind of an emerging, a fairly new field, but it relates essentially to all of the digital platforms uh, that serve music to consumers.
Right. So the what's exactly being sold in that line, like digital retail? You're selling the rights to um, stream a particular artist's song to the public or something like that, like in form of
Well, the,
subscription, something.
well, the retailers are people like Spotify, right? And they sell subscriptions or sometimes downloads, but mostly subscriptions or advertising.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's why we call them retailers, yeah. Um, but but yeah, I think the kind of subscriptions that they offer do vary. So
So is your job part of that uh, deal of them selling subscriptions to the others, or are you someone who's representing the artist side or the distribution side? Like, what's your role in this? Do you deal directly with Spotify?
mm, yeah, so the way I describe it is, if you've got a kind of chain of music and rights, so you've got the artists that sign a contract with the label managers, so they assign their rights to us, and then so we've got an input of music, and then on the other side you've got the output where we deliver all of that catalog to services like Spotify. And so what I handle is that second phase, the output, where
Right.
I sit on Believe's entire catalog,
Okay.
and it's my job to license at scale this entire catalog
Right.
to these digital platforms, and to oversee the delivery of this content, and um, to manage all of the touch points in the relationship. So the
Right.
pitching songs um, for playlists, and receiving the royalty reports and the payments. And so we have teams that are obviously dedicated teams that are handling all of these areas. But
Right.
but
Right.
as a digital retail manager, it's my job to be the kind of
Oversee.
point person, to be at the front, and to be talking to the services, and to be making sure that problems, if there are any issues in any of these departments, that they are kind of resolved and understood.
Right. This sounds to me like this role of yours sounds to me like an evolution of a role of a publisher, because, like you said, you are in charge of giving out the licenses of the catalog to Spotify, who wants to sort of buy uh, performing rights of a song from you, who's representing the artists. Is that correct? Is this job in any way similar to what you did in publishing, or is this a very different?
No, not really. The no, I'd say in my experience, to my knowledge, the 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 similarity with the publishing world is where the publishers uh, sync do go after sync licenses for their catalog. So they excuse me. Um, so it's essentially the similarity is where there's a licensing where there's licensing agreements in place, but
Right.
it's quite a small similarity, because uh, when it comes to publishers signing, granting the rights to streaming services, they often go via collection societies.
Right. Right.
So it's quite different. But I'd say the analogy would be with CD and vinyl distributors. If you think about before digital, labels had to sign agreements with physical distributors, and
Right.
they would design and fund all the products and the manufacturing, and then the manufacturer would send all the finished CDs and vinyls to the distribution company, who would make sure that the right quantities were sent to all of the CD stores.
Right. Right. So it's quite different than what you were doing at publishing, or what traditional publishers used to do.
Yeah,
Scope is much bigger than that.
yeah, it's quite different. Yeah.
Right. So I think that was as far as your role is at Believe currently, and
I will add actually on my role that I also am responsible for kind of looking into the future, and trying to trying to understand where the business is going. So trying to understand new ways that the business is evolving, because, as I said at the beginning, you know, the ways that music is used in digital platforms is changing quite quickly. We had, download streaming, and now there's TikTok and short form video apps, and there's being in a more and more digital world. There are more and more ways that music is used online. There's companies now, dating apps, that have kind of music components, and so they're trying to figure out how to license that music.
yeah,
There's all kinds of different applications. So it's my job also to look at, for example, the gaming world, and how music is interacts with virtual reality, social VR worlds, games like Fortnite, and to try and understand where the opportunities are for artists. And that brings me on to live streaming, actually, because this was a project that I looked at very closely at the beginning of the year, because obviously artists were turning to live streaming platforms at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was Belize's mission is to serve artists, and so it became my job to figure out how we could work with the live streaming platforms, how we could open up a new revenue stream for artists, and to really understand again what the opportunity is.
Right. Yeah, that really makes sense because I was going to ask you how you came about writing the article on live streaming because up until now I had not heard you talk about live streaming in this way. Um, your background seemed uh, a little far away from what live streaming is, but now it makes sense since you said that it's part of your role to look ahead into the future and see what are the emerging trends for artists to generate revenue,
Mm.
which is a direct concern for someone in your role at the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And all the live streaming, the major live streaming platforms are all part of wider digital ecosystems, right? Like Facebook live streaming, YouTube Live, Twitch is part of Amazon. So it just made sense for my team and I to be the ones to look into this, because the live streaming components were extensions of kind of conventional streaming services.
Right.
So yeah, it made sense, and as I said before, yeah, it was interesting to see how artists could start making money with this new kind of digital exploitation.
So you came about writing this article after you learned these things through your experience, or was it through research, like through pure research about just for the sake of the article? Like
No,
how's the
it
idea?
wasn't. I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't research it for the article at all. It was all research done through my job through Believe. It was it was a research that I did really to for the artists that we represent. To provide this information to help them try and make some revenue or understand how the monetization works
Yeah.
in the pandemic. And I would just happen to be approached by my co-author, who is interested to write an article, and I said sure, and I just kind of took all that information and I put it down in a written form.
It is so well structured. Um so if as an artist I want to understand how to make revenue from live streaming, this article of yours was a perfect 101 into understanding the the stuff that happens in the background that leads to you creating content and revenue. So now you can sort of consciously choose how you want to create revenue, which is why when I read your article, I just wanted to sort of make maybe a 15-minute episode just talking about the article and explaining it in an even more concise manner through audio so
Hmm.
that people can get this message out very quickly and they can act on it. So, can we talk about that article from start to end, break it down in a simple manner, and deconstruct the whole idea of making a living through live streaming? Even though it seems a little too early for that, uh, let's see how it it can grow in the future.
Yeah, it's yeah. The title is "Making a Living from Live Streaming?" Question mark. A
Right.
beginner's guide to monetization features, and so yeah, I think you've introduced the article very well. And the main platforms we were looking at really were the biggest global platforms, the platforms that we thought artists would be most likely to be on already, to already know and understand, but also where their audience is most likely to already be.
Right.
There's no point really in doing a live stream on a platform that no one's on, because you won't have an audience. The amount of money that you can make is relative to the amount people that you have
And
watching you.
yeah, it does not relate to how good your music is or how good your performance is.
No, not really. No.
Yeah.
Obviously, people will come if you're good. People are less likely to come if you're bad. But yeah, it ultimately you need the audience, and so we looked at Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter a little bit.
Right.
We
Yeah.
identified
Twitter was
those.
one thing that I had not known a lot about, which I gathered from your article, but everything else was still a little more familiar to me uh, about like Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram.
Mm.
So I think we should begin from dividing the two uh, ways in which the revenue can be generated in platform and off platform. Could you
Yeah.
speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the way we structured it was to identify firstly the in-platform monetization features that were available, and we classified those. So these are the features are that are built into the platforms. So when you sign up on Twitch and start live streaming, they're the the features that you can unlock. And so we classify, looking at all the platforms overall, we established that there were four main monetization types. There's ad supported, there's membership, where people sign up and pay, on a monthly basis a certain amount. There was pay per view or paywall, where you charge people like a digital ticket to access your live stream. And finally, the what we call the digital goods model, which is when fans pay small sums on a one-off basis, whether it's sending you a sticker, in the chat box during your live stream, or sometimes they can send you what's called super hearts or
Yeah,
super likes and things like this.
they're like commodities within the digital product, uh, the digital platform, you can say.
Kind of, yeah. And so that's all um, kind of moderated by virtual currencies.
Right. So you buy something on the platform through a virtual currency.
Yes, in so I, the way maybe we'll go into it more in more detail afterwards, but essentially, you have to before you can buy some of these virtual items, you have to first purchase a certain number of coins. On TikTok, for example, you need to maybe spend sort of £4 or £5 on 500 coins, and then with that coin balance, you can purchase little virtual items inside the app and gift them to the live streamers.
Right. Right. So the
And so,
first one is okay. Sorry.
and no, and then just to touch on the second section, which was off platform. So the logic there was to, even though the focus really of the article, so 90% of the article is in platform, but we thought, we're talking about monetization features in live streaming platforms here, so we have to talk a little bit about the ways that you can leverage the traffic and your audience to make money by sending them to elsewhere, like a website where you're selling merchandise, or a
Right.
streaming platform where you can rack up streams and make royalties. So
Right.
we also touch on that afterwards, but yeah, and so to dive deeper into the first sort of section of the article, the before going deeper into the actual features themselves, I think we started by introducing the ways that the streaming platforms are structured in terms of the incentive mechanisms to unlock the features.
Right.
So on Twitch, for example, is a good example where the way Twitch works. So Twitch works because they have what they call talent. They have live streamers that people love, that people tune in to watch, every day. without those talented live streamers, then their platform wouldn't work. So and so what they do is when you first sign up as a live streamer on Twitch, you're what they call on the streamer. You're a streamer on the bottom tier, and you can't monetize. What you have to do to unlock the monetization features is grow an audience. So you have to stream a certain amount over a certain amount of time. So I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like 5 hours over 5 days or something like that. And your videos, your live streams have to have a minimum number of viewers.
Yeah, it says minimum of 8 hours and 50 plus followers is what it's in the article.
Yeah. So you have to be making kind of quality live streams. Your audience has to be engaged a little bit, and you have to grow it. You have to have 50 followers, and so the objective there for Twitch is to encourage people to take the live streaming seriously and to invest in the content. And so once you're live streaming regularly and you've got an audience, then as your audience increases, your capabilities to monetize increase.
Right. That's fair. Yeah.
And essentially that's how it works. And it's the same on YouTube. On YouTube you've got the YouTube Partner Program. Right. And you have to have a certain number of subscribers and views, watch time, I think, to unlock to become a YouTube preferred partner. So to gain access to the YouTube Partner Program and be able to monetize the live streams, and on Twitter as well. So it's the same. They have what they called Super Broadcaster Program, I think it is.
Amplify pre-roll program.
That's it. Yeah. So pre-roll referring to pre-roll ads. So once you I think you have to post over a month. You have to post 5 times a week or something like this. And maybe you can tell me if you got the article.
Yeah. No, I think the numbers for Twitter aren't there. I can see the numbers for YouTube.
Okay.
It's about 4,000 watch hours as well as 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
For Twitter, it says you need to publish around 5 videos per week.
Yeah, 5 videos a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so once you kind of demonstrate to Twitter that you're a kind of regular poster, then you can unlock this amplified pre-roll program, which gives you the ability to place adverts at the front of your videos, and then you generate royalties. I mean, not royalties, revenue.
Right. I actually didn't know that Twitter had this kind of a facility for monetization, because Twitter is not really perceived as a video viewing platform.
Yeah, it's true. But I think they're trying. They're trying to get in that space. But yeah, you're right. I think that's really where Twitter falls short a little bit, because it really isn't identified with video. Yeah. And so even though they acquired Periscope, the live streaming platform, and have integrated Periscope into Twitter itself, it's not really people, I don't think, are using the live streaming functionality as much as they would like to, because it's just not known for it. I remember though, 3 years ago, when I was doing Not Like That, live streaming was sort of first becoming a thing, and Periscope was massive. Periscope was the one.
I've heard about Periscope. So what was it like, briefly, if you can tell me? What was it? Was it a platform for live streaming?
It was a live streaming app, just very simple, and you could essentially discover live streams quite easily, because you would just go onto the map in the app, and you could see where people were live streaming. So you could
Oh,
just click anywhere in the world on a little kind of bubble,
huh.
which showed you a preview, and then you would just go into uh, a stranger's live stream. It was quite
That-
cool.
yeah, that's
So
kind of
what we would set up a phone uh, in the venues where we would have our parties,
yeah,
and we would just live stream the whole night on Periscope. So
yeah,
then people could discover our events in the
yeah.
live in real time.
That's kind of ingenious that they did that, and also surprising that no one's doing that right now, because it's kind of a simple idea that you just take live video feeds of people who are on the app and you just broadcast them. It's simple. It's I think something that even Google could have done since they have
Yeah,
and stuff.
I think Instagram does it. I think you can do that. You can discover strangers Instagram live streams, and you can also watch strangers Instagram stories, and I think
The whole
possibly
story
Snapchat
thing,
as well.
yeah, the whole story thing actually blew up only 3 years ago, or something, and that's when Periscope had come out. Like it's like you're saying, so they did sort of um, this thing before everybody else, but then it became big when Instagram and Snapchat came out with their live features and story features and stuff. So I guess
Mm.
Periscope couldn't probably grow big in that. But yeah, so that was the streaming tires thing that is common on all the platforms,
Mhm.
and now we we'll see how the ads features allow you to monetize,
Mhm.
right? That's
Okay.
category.
Uh, yeah. So first off, the ad-supported monetization feature. So um, I think so. So essentially, the way it works is that creators get paid on a revenue share basis. Essentially, that's how it works, and um, the amount of revenue that, for example, YouTube generates from advertisers is split 55-45 with the content creator. So if I live stream on YouTube and there's an ad against my video that the advertiser paid £100 to appear, then that £100, £55 would go to me, and £45 would go to Google, roughly speaking.
Right.
And
And that varies from country to country, right? Because um, the advertisers are paying a certain amount of money for, say, United States, and then a certain amount of money for, say, India or the UK.
yeah,
So it
and
depends
so
on.
the important detail is that the amount that the advertisers pay. So let's say that £100 is determined by the number of people who see the ad.
Right.
And so what that metric is called CPM,
CPM.
cost per thousand impressions.
Right.
And so um, that cost is going to vary country to country. And
Right.
so the amounts that you can make basically depend country to country, even if you have the same number of people seeing your ad,
Right.
because a thousand people viewing your ad in India is going to generate less money than 1,000 people seeing your ad in
Right.
sorry, it's going to cost less than 1,000 people seeing the advertiser in America.
Because for the advertisers, it's cheaper to advertise in India than in America.
Yes, exactly. And so from the creator and the live streaming side, if you have 1 million viewers, then you're going to make less money if those viewers are in India than if they're in America.
I've seen certain influencers on YouTube. I mean, certain YouTube bloggers or vloggers who have probably like one-fourth the views of a certain video in America, where they've made 4 times more money than a video that has 4 times more views in India, and that gets paid like way lesser in India. So certain
Mm.
videos have so much value in terms of how geographically they are viewed than other videos of the same artist or the same blogger, which is quite interesting to know.
Yeah, yeah,
It,
it's quite curious. It's quite interesting, and I think there's an article in my article that I linked to with this YouTuber who's American, I think, and she makes a lot of videos like how to pose for like a selfie and stuff like that. And she
yeah,
breaks down in the article. It's an amazing article. She's very very transparent, and she breaks down the different amounts that she's made for
yeah.
different videos, and
I've read that article, and that's exactly where I think learned it from. That I saw the amount of money even that she made because she wrote in that article that this is the video, this is the amount of views it's got in this country, and this is how much I got paid for that. And compared to this video in India, where I got just paid this much money, and that's if you are an artist or anyone making content on these platforms and you have this kind of information, uh, you can imagine how valuable that information is for your future videos and how you want to structure them. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's very valuable. And so this CPM for YouTube is 55.45, while on Twitch it's 75, and on Twitter it's 70%.
Uh, that's right. Yes, on Twitter, as long as all the traffic is organic, then you keep 70% of the revenue.
Right.
Yeah, and on Twitch, it's up to 75%.
Oh,
But it's variable. It depends on what country. It kind of depends on what country you're in. It's a little bit more complicated than that. I'm trying to find the section. Uh, yeah, on Twitch, uh, I haven't experienced it myself, so I can't. I don't exactly know how this works, but they pay out to live streamers either on a fixed CPM basis. So, so if I have on my video 2,000 viewers who saw an ad 2,000 times, then they will affix a fixed value for each of those 1,000 viewers.
so they almost have like personal agreements with their uh, users, the streamers who generate revenue, and based off of that, they decide to allocate, say, 40% to someone, then 60% to someone. So it's at their
Um, it's no, I'm not sure. I think it will. That's the thing. It's either on a fixed CPM basis or up to 75% of revenue share. So I think the reason why this is vague is because it depends on what Twitch's agreements say with their advertisers. So it's possible that Twitch have agreements with the advertisers that say that the advertisers will have to pay maybe the greater of 75% of have to pay the fixed fee for every 1,000 impressions, or
Okay,
um, or something like that. So
right.
um,
And they haven't exactly given details of that, but they just mentioned that it can go up to 75%.
yeah, so it's either a fixed cost per 1,000 impressions or up to 75% in the ad revenue.
But whereas on Twitter, it seems like it's a flat 70%. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So yeah, I mean, so that was the ad-supported model of revenue generation or monetization.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? You want to?
Well, I suppose the way we structured the article was to at the end of each section, each monetization type that we itemized, to kind of give a view on uh, how we thought what we thought the potential was.
Right.
So our conclusion with ad supported was that it's probably not the best option. It's probably not a good focus if you're an artist and you want to monetize on live streaming. Using ad supported as your key strategy is not a good idea, because the payout ultimately is very small. You need a very large audience
Yeah.
to make a kind of a decent amount of money there.
Yeah.
And so it's probably not where you should focus, but it's a good bonus to have. It's a good add-on to have to accompany other revenue streams.
Right. It seems like this model would work better for someone who's already established and has a following.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. You're definitely going to make a lot more money when if you've got an established following. And but at that stage as well, you're probably going, if you've got a following, you're probably going to monetize in other ways as well, and those other ways are probably going to make you more money. So, for example, if we go on to memberships,
right.
So that's a key way to monetize on Twitch, for example. And so the way that Twitch structures that is that there's 3 tiers of pricing on Twitch. So you can as a streamer, you can price your monthly subscription to your channel at $4.99 a month. So this is in pounds. $4.99 a month, $9.99 a month, or $24.99 a month. And their tiers, a bit like on Patreon, if you know that platform.
Yes.
And so for the $4.99 a month, you get ad-free viewing.
Right.
And then for the $9.99 a month, you get ad-free, and you get some kind of custom emotes to use in the chat. Right. And maybe you get access also to some kind of subscriber-only chats or live streams.
Right.
And then for the most expensive tier, for $24.99, you get additional benefits.
Right. So that depends on the artist who is creating this membership. They get to kind of decide what they will provide in the top tier compared to the other 2 tiers.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So this method would actually, get the artist the real kind of fans, because it would be very organic creating this kind of a following. Like, unless there's a way to even have paid followers on Twitch, this following that they create would probably be very organic.
Right? What do you mean exactly?
Because since the followers who are on your Twitch platform, if they are required to have, if they're required to give you a certain amount of money for your performances or your streaming, then that means that they are paying money to watch you, right?
Yeah, they are. It certainly, I think, creates more engagement, I would say, because if you're subscribed to pay the money on a monthly basis, then you're going to check in to that creator more frequently, and if you also have access to some member-only benefits, like a members-only chat or members-only live streams, then it reduces the pool of people to the super fans.
Yeah.
And so the super fans can get to know each other better. The chat, you can follow it. It's not like brrr, and
yeah.
you can also interact more closely with the artist. So it creates more engagement, and for the artist, it's definitely the best option. It's one of the best options, because people are signed up to give you an amount of money every single month.
Yeah, exactly.
$24.99 is quite a lot of money. It's like a concert ticket.
Yeah.
It's like people paying a concert ticket to see you every month, or $4.99 is like a price of an album.
Exactly. I
So
was just gonna say that you pay almost every month, as opposed to you'd probably be buying an album, even like an exclusive limited edition album, in lesser money. So this is a way bigger investment for a fan, which is why I said that this following would be so organic and so real that even having fake followers would not do enough justice, because here there are like real people who are investing real money um, to let you do what you want to do. And
yeah, that's what this is where I think do you know about the thousand super fans theory?
yeah, yeah,
Where if you have 1,000 super fans who are buying everything that you do,
yeah,
then that's actually all you need
all you
to
need.
make a kind of basic living um, because yeah, they will just spend that money and they will
Right.
support you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I guess having a 24.99 subscription to a live streaming channel is really a way that you can provide a, a way for those super fans to support you and to give back to them as well.
And also you get a lot more interaction and sort of like a feedback from your fans instantly on what you're doing. So I think
Yeah,
that's like a whole new level of interaction between an artist and their fans.
yeah, definitely.
So for you, you think, in your opinion, that this is the best way to go about monetizing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, the revenue split on membership is more aggressive. So on Twitch, um, Twitch keeps 50% of the money that you generate from membership. So if the retail price of a subscription is £4.99 a month, then you're really only getting £2.50. So
Right.
the cut is a bit more severe, but at the end of the day, you are people are committing to paying you monthly, so that's a huge advantage, and the amounts are not insignificant. Like we said, they're going from the price of an album to the price of a concert ticket.
Yeah.
So yes, it is our argument in the article that this is this should be a priority if you're looking to generate revenues from live streaming.
Were you successful in any way with this theory? I mean, your argument with artists that believe, like, were you able to considerably help someone believe was managing through any of these strategies, like ad supported or membership or anything?
Um, we I can't really talk about it. It's still an ongoing project. So we began working with all the live streaming platforms um, in sort of the summer, and we're still building that expertise and educating the artists. First of all, we had to do the research, and then we had to translate that research into
Right.
PowerPoints to communicate clearly that expertise internally as well as to the artists. And then we had to devise a strategy, and we had to form the partnerships with the services. And then there's very few artists who are using these services, for music artists, I mean. So we've had a whole phase of artist education
Right.
and having communication campaigns to our
Because the
clients
artists are not
to kind of
aware of these
say,
features.
sorry?
Sorry, is it because the artists are not aware of these features, or they just don't find this part of their? I mean, they just choose not to do it. Is it because they choose not to do it?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. They're not necessarily aware, and that's partly why I wrote the article. But also, I think they're not really comfortable with the format necessarily. They don't really know how to. When you've never used live streaming before, it's quite easy to maybe be a bit scared of it, or because it does take some expertise to do a good live stream.
Yeah.
You can't just do a great live stream straight away. You have to kind of think about how you present yourself, how you design the setting, and all this kind of things. So there was definitely a work of education needed for our clients to kind of explain to them that the best practices.
Right. That's interesting to know because in theory this sounds very clear, but then for me also it was about sitting and reading this article for a good half an hour and then thinking about it for another hour because I'm interested in knowing these things. But for a normal artist who's been making revenue in a very different way up until now, this would seem like a very big change, almost uncomfortable at first, but then slowly and gradually internalizing this and thinking of it as a strategy rather
Yeah.
than a creative output, which is
Mm.
what artists are mostly accustomed to.
Yeah, it's true. It's and one of the central arguments in the article is also that uh, the more you think about it, the more we thought about it, the more we realized that live streaming really is its own thing. It's a new
Yeah,
format. It's a new medium. At the beginning of the pandemic, I often saw on Twitter artists saying live streams will never replace live music, blah blah blah. And I was just like, well, no, of course not. Like they're different things. They're not gonna. One's not replacing the other. It's
yeah,
on top of the other.
yeah,
And so there was a lot of artists that were trying to replicate the live experience in live streaming. They just didn't work,
yeah,
and it was because they didn't quite understand that there's a different set of principles that apply here,
yeah,
and so there is that. Going back to your point, that phase of transition where you kind of readapt. You have to adapt, And if you've got a Twitch channel and you're performing to your fans who are paying £5 a month to be subscribed to your channel, you have to think about quantity. You have to give back. You have to live stream, a few times a week, and you have to provide value.
yeah.
And
It's
so
almost
it's
like having a whole different type of artist for Twitch. You have to sort of create another alter ego altogether to be able to
yeah.
consistently deliver.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Or you have to at least very much expand who you are as an artist because
Yeah,
maybe you're used to just being about music and for people to know that about you. But actually, if you're on Twitch, maybe you can engage with your fans about games that you like.
yeah,
You can play your fans at like Among Us or something like that, and
yeah,
and so you're kind of expanding your universe.
yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. I was going to ask you about your thoughts on live streaming individually and not as a substitute for live music. That was going to be my next question to you after we finish the article. So maybe we can continue this at that point.
Mm. Yeah, I think the article kind of ends on that sort of similar note. So
Yeah,
so we can get there.
right. Naturally. So next is paywalls then.
Sure. So for paywalls, so paywalls was the other kind of monetization that we found had a interesting potential because again the amounts that you're able to charge people to access your live stream, so it's kind of a digital ticket, are are interesting amounts. It's much more for one ticket, let's say, than fans would be spending to give you a virtual item or by consuming an ad. And so that as a starting point, we thought there's something here,
Right.
um, and so the 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 difference with the paywall monetization feature is that actually the main global platforms that we talked about previously, like Twitch and YouTube, they actually don't have paywalls. So for this, we had to look outside of the main global platforms, and actually we found that there's many platforms that offer pay-per-view live streaming.
The
It's
fact that
this,
you've given three examples only told me that there are so many platforms that you guys had to select the best ones to talk about.
Yeah, I don't even know if we picked the best ones, to be honest. There's literally so many that that we just picked. We just kind of took an overview of the kind of services that were offered, and we kind of picked three that summed up the majority.
Right.
And so the the three types, let's say, of the paywall system. We actually, are there three or are there two?
I think there's one.
There's two.
Case.
So there's two. There's paywall. There's a ticket gateway, what we call a ticket gateway, which is where you host your live stream on let's say a free live stream platform like Zoom or like Google or whatever.
Yeah.
And you use then another third party, the application or company, to provide you that paywall, or what we call ticket gateway. So we focused on one called Dice, which is a UK company, which is actually mostly known for selling regular concert tickets, but since the pandemic they've introduced online events. And so what you do is you set up your event in Dice, in this ticketing platform, which I very much recommend. If you have it in India, I really recommend downloading the app and using it, because it's really great. The company that make the app are UK independent digital studio, and they are really great. And so you set up your event in the app, and then you set the price, and people buy the tickets from there, and then at the time of the event, people receive an email with a link, and the link redirects you to the Zoom link or wherever.
Right. So this is a website that just provides you with the e-commerce side of things, and then there's a separate platform for the streaming side of things.
Exactly. Yeah. So the streaming, the live streaming platform, and the paywall are decoupled.
Right.
Are separate. And so the flip side of that, which was the second kind of paywall platform that we looked at, is where they're all integrated. So the paywall and the technical backend and the live stream are all together. So and within that sort of integrated category, we looked at one very high-end platform called Maestro, which is an American company, I think, who provide many different kinds of features. So they provide you with a URL, a web page, where you can sort of design it yourself quite simply, with links to your website and links to your merch store, to your Spotify, and you can also add lots of different kinds of widgets in the sidebar next to your viewer, your player, which shows your Twitter feed, or which can show anything you want, really, social media, but it can also show your Spotify, it can show your merch store products, it can show, there's a lot of gamification features in there, so you can invite your viewers to interact. So, for example, by voting for a song that they want to hear.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So there's all these interesting engagement features and promotional features that are all bundled together in this very sort of professional-looking system. I think Billie Eilish used it in her recent live stream, which I unfortunately didn't attend, but I heard it was really great.
Yeah, I read a lot of good things about that on Twitter and everywhere else. And before that, the one that was always talked about was Fortnite and Travis Scott. And after that, it was this one.
Yeah, really? Okay, that's interesting. I wish I'd seen it now. Because Travis Scott was incredible, and yeah, everyone was talking about it. It was definitely a turning point. So that's really the high-end kind of section where really the platform takes care of everything. But I'd say it's targeted more at artists who have significant audiences, because
Quite an expensive platform.
it requires a significant investment to use. So it doesn't really make sense for a small artist to be using it because it's
Right.
unlikely that they'll make a return on the investment.
Yeah.
And the payment model with that is essentially, as the artist, you keep 80% of the revenue, roughly.
8%, 80%.
80%, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not exact because the way you pay for these services is actually separated into lots of different sections depending on what services and features you want to use.
Yeah.
But
A bunch of variables.
having lots of variables. But I had a long conversation with the salesperson at the company, and they calculated that roughly the revenue split is 80-20.
Okay. So I mean, it makes sense if your event is big enough for you to actually get an ROI, but not really viable for smaller artists.
Mm.
But like the service is there, it's out there for someone who wants to scale it.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, there's quite a few articles online for those who are interested to learn more about an artist called Melissa Etheridge, I think her name is, and she has been making loads of money through it. She's a real success story, and she's actually the main success story that the company themselves talk about when they're pitching their service, because I don't know who she is, but she must have a huge fan base. I think she's kind of an American country artist, and she has she monetizes. She does live streams regularly, and she charges on a membership basis.
Okay.
And she's doing multiple live streams every week, and yeah, she's making tons of money. I can't remember exactly how much, but it was kind of like $50,000 a week or something like that.
What? It's
Yeah,
phenomenal, man.
it's huge. So
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was gonna say about this whole format is that it's going to sort of invent a different class of artists who have strengths in areas where you have to perform on a regular basis, and then there'll be an audience specifically for those kind of performances, and that's how live streaming can have its own market share instead of it being a substitute for live music.
yeah. Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about live streaming is that it when you tour as a band,
Hmm.
you can have one set that you practice, and you play that same show to 20 different audiences in 20 different cities. So
Yes.
in a way, that one performance
Recycle.
you can recycle it, you can use it. Whereas on live streaming, you play it once to the world and that's it. So you really have to think as an artist of ways to spin off different versions of your performance.
Yeah.
I kind of compare it to how people do remixes. So if you release one single, then you can't re-release that single, but you can release remixes. So they're variations on that same song.
Yeah.
So as an artist, you can maybe say, okay, this performance is my kind of single performance, and then I'm going to try and remix the performance to offer people different takes on it, and then that will kind of maximize the potential of like a single live set.
Yeah.
So that you can perform it many times and fans won't get bored.
And they can do different versions of this track as well. Like if it's a hip hop song, they can probably do a dub version on the live stream. If it's a rock song, they can probably do an unplugged or an acoustic version or something.
Yeah, exactly.
If they want to play like a DJ set of their songs, they can make like a dance version of their song. Possibilities are endless in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of I think that's where the true potential is for this, because when I started thinking about this, I realized that actually the live experience is very uniform. It's actually it's underexplored in my mind. the format of the live show is the same across the board, whether you're going to a metal concert, to a folk concert, to a pop concert. You go to a venue, you stand with the audience, and you look at the artist who performs their show.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
across the board, it's the same format.
Yeah.
So, and so everyone's kind of getting the same experience, and yeah, so now, you know, live streaming just forces you to think about this in a different way.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize that actually there's many different versions of your performance that you could design.
And there are different ways in which that performance is consumed as well. So like, it's not just the artists who are going to have to get used to being a live stream artist. It's even the audience. Like, I think that there'll be a very different audience for something like this. Like, it definitely won't be replacing, like, on the weekend I'm going to go to a concert. It's probably going to be a thing that at night I'm going to watch this performance. It's probably going to eat into Netflix's view time more than live concerts view time, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's true.
Right. So I think we have to digital goods next. And then there's the off-platform section.
Yeah, for sure. So
concluding the pay-per-view model, how would you conclude that?
The pay-per-view model. The pay-per-view model is definitely something that artists and managers should be thinking about as a priority alongside the memberships, because the single transactions for each ticket bought generate more revenue, simply put, than the other kinds of monetization. And but the downside, I suppose, is that if you're paying, the trick is with paywalls is that if you're charging people to access your live stream, you have to be aware that most live streams are free. You know, Facebook, Instagram are, you know, arguably one of the two of the biggest live stream platforms, and there's all the live streams are free. So you really have to be aware as an artist that if you're charging fans for your live stream, you have to make something which is a higher level of quality.
Yeah.
Higher production. So you're probably looking at higher production costs. So that is financially, that is to be factored into the equation. But, you know, if you've got a good idea, if you've got an engaged fan base, and you can charge £5-10 for a ticket to your live stream, then and you're confident you can provide that value, and artists will be pleased with the content, then absolutely it's something that should be done.
Yeah, I think the platforms themselves will be key into an artist deciding to do this on a regular basis. Like, currently, I don't think the artist will have an incentive to do regular streams on Facebook, but say if on YouTube they have YouTube memberships and stuff like that. But say if there's a platform like Twitch where you could do this regularly, but people will have to pay for you to do that, then Twitch as a platform could be that ticket for an artist to do this regularly, as opposed to Facebook, where there is no paywall or any kind of a way to pay. So that, I think, could be a deciding factor. We are not sure yet about it, but it seems like that, because the way I see the whole in-platform experience is that in the beginning, if you somehow manage to get consistently an audience for your performances through pay-per-view, then you can move on to the membership model to increase your revenue, and from there on you can go on to the ad-supported model, where you can generate that much ads, because you already know that you have a following who's paying to be able to see your performances. And that would give them the confidence to go to the ad-supported model and go on to YouTube and sites sites like those for their videos where they know that they will get that much viewing for ads and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So now moving on to the off-platform section. I think no
Do you want to talk
digital
about
goods.
digital goods? Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Um, so digital goods. So just to recap what that is. Um, so in platforms. So I think the main platforms that we looked at are YouTube and TikTok. And
Right.
so the idea is that while you live stream, users or viewers can gift you on a one-off basis some sort of virtual items or even donate some little sort of small amounts of money in exchange for what YouTube calls super stickers or super chat. So on YouTube, when you're watching a live streamer, you can pay a certain amount. It varies to have what's called a super sticker. I think it goes up to about $50, maybe even more. But I think when I did it, it was like $2.99. I paid $2.99 for a super sticker, and basically in the chat, when you pay for it, there's this big sticker that comes up, and your name comes up as well. So often the live streamer will see it, and they will say, "Oh, hey Henry, thanks for the super sticker, blah blah blah,"
Mhm.
and for the super chat, you again, viewers can pay kind of one-off amounts, often very small amounts, sort of like under £1 or £2, and essentially your comment in the chat box will be pinned to the top.
Right. And you
So
get
in a
kind of recognition.
you get that recognition, but also the live streamer will see your question, and often they will specifically answer your question because they will see that you've paid a little bit of money. So it's kind of a way for, in live streams where there's many viewers and the stream is just like you can cut through that and have your question just stay at the top for a minute or two, and it guarantees you that interaction with the live streamer because they will see and they will answer your question.
Get the bang for your buck.
Yeah. And so that's the digital goods mechanism on YouTube. And on TikTok, they have a kind of they work with virtual items economy. Like I said before, what you have to do as a viewer is buy coins.
Right.
And with your coins, it fills up your little TikTok wallet. And with your coins, you can purchase little gifts that are often kind of like the gifts on Reddit, if you're familiar with those little kind of
Coins.
stickers that are kind of animated. Sorry, what did you say?
I thought it was some kind of coins, right?
So on Reddit as well, but yeah, you buy coins, but then with the coins, you can buy
Okay.
the little gifts themselves. So I think in the article I've put in a screenshot from from TikTok, and you've got a panda, which is like a little panda sticker,
Yeah.
or a
I've
sun
not seen that
hot
on
dog.
Reddit though. I've just known that the coins thing exists, but I've never used it, so I didn't know that you could use stickers on Reddit.
Oh no! So on Reddit, they're not stickers exactly. They call them coins as well. So you buy coins, but then you buy awards on Reddit.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're kind of like stickers, but they're very small, and they call them awards.
Oh, okay.
And so if there's a comment or a post that you like, you can just give awards.
Okay.
It's
So,
quite
but
fun.
I've never used it, so I'll actually like check it out on Reddit and know
Yeah,
what
Reddit's amazing.
it's like. So yeah, I mean, so if you buy these things with coins on that platform, uh, as an artist, if I receive those things, is there a way to monetize them back? Like,
Yeah, definitely. So you what happens is so let's say I'm a live streamer and I receive
$50
about
worth of
well, let's say I receive some gifts, some virtual items, digital goods. Some people gift me some virtual items.
Right.
What I can do then on my side is convert these gifts into what they call diamonds, and then with that that quantity of diamonds, I can convert those into dollars.
Okay. But it's the website that controls the value of those diamonds.
Yes, it's TikTok is a little bit
Smart.
I was going to say vague, to put it kindly. No, the way what they say on their website is the quote, the applicable monetary compensation for diamonds will be calculated by us based on various factors, including the number of diamonds a user has accrued. So we don't really know how TikTok is calculating the value of the diamonds, but what we understand speaking to TikTok and doing research online is that on average, a diamond is worth $0.005, which means that you need 20,000 diamonds to make $100.
Right. So I mean, it's not exactly something you bank on for revenue, but again, it's like an add-on stream of revenue that like goes into the bonus category.
Yeah, that's right. It would take a huge amount of viewers and a huge amount of generosity from those viewers to really make a decent amount of money and a reliable amount of money, you know, because again, this is not a recurring fee. This is not a
You don't
recurring
know when it's gonna
transaction.
come. It can be very erratic in the way you receive those diamonds. Like you might receive during Christmas, you might receive a lot of diamonds, but maybe for the rest of the year, you don't receive a lot of gifts, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's much more unpredictable, and so yeah, as you say, it's a bonus monetization feature if you can engage in it. But we don't think our advice is that at this point in the development of the technology, it probably shouldn't be a point to focus on.
Yeah, shouldn't be like a big part of your consideration when trying to strategize this.
Mhm.
That's our conclusion then for digital goods.
Yeah, that's basically it. In the article, we talk a little bit about Twitch and Twitter as well, who have similar mechanisms. But there's not really anything to add. Really, that the systems are the same. On Twitch,
Bits. Right.
so they have bits exactly, and they actually pay. They make it clear, and they pay $0.01 per bit received. So that's a bit clearer, which is good, but still a very small amount of money, of course.
Yeah.
And on Twitter, it's the same 70% revenue share.
Right. Right. So that was digital goods, and with that we wrap up the in-platform section, right? The article,
Yeah.
which was actually the major chunk of the argument about live streaming as a monetization source. So moving on to off-platform.
Yeah, so for off-platform, we really focused on 3 areas: promoting concerts to your viewers and encouraging viewers to purchase concert tickets, linking from your live stream page or your profile to external websites where maybe you're selling merchandise, and so they're the 2 angles that we looked at. And so for promoting,
is the other category that you linking to the merchandise and then linking to your live stream as well. That's the other.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think on the linking to your live stream is kind of similar to linking out to your merchandise, because
True.
so if we, let's start with this section. So on YouTube, you can add links at various areas around your video.
Yeah.
So in your video
Cards.
description, you can have cards, and so um, so we wanted to kind of briefly highlight these features, which we consider monetization features, but more kind of off-platform, indirect monetization features,
Yeah.
which artists should absolutely bear in mind and utilize if they are trying to gain some revenue, because cards and links and descriptions are very established features that most people are familiar with. So
Yeah.
it's people are much more likely to click on those.
Yeah.
So definitely artists, if they're live streaming on YouTube, should use the cards and put
Yeah.
links in the description. And so and that links also to linking out to merchandise sites. So on YouTube, they have a feature called Merch Shelf, um, which means that you can add under your video a little sort of carousel panel,
Okay.
which displays your merchandise products and allows users to click on them
Right.
and purchase your merch from a third-party website.
This is very similar to the marketplace option on Instagram now, where there's a photo or a video of something, and then they have these dots on them, which you click on, and you get to see the product that's linked to that dot, and you get to see the price of the product, and then there is a link that takes you to the website where you actually buy the product.
Oh, interesting! I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in Instagram, there is a when you go to the search section, on the top right, there is a small house icon on which you click. It will basically show you all the businesses that are around you. And those businesses are called businesses because they are selling something on the post. So Instagram provides you that feature with linking a product that is sellable, uh, and they display the price of that product, and then that link takes you to the website where the product is being sold. So there is a layer of business layer, you can call it,
Mm-hmm.
that's there on
Yeah.
Instagram. So that's that's how I'm familiar with the whole idea of linking your um, something that's sellable to a platform where you have a lot of followers and where your content lies. And this I've seen primarily on Instagram, but then YouTube is a platform which allows you to at least link stuff to your content. But beyond YouTube, I haven't seen any other platform doing this a lot. And here also you've mainly just spoken about YouTube when you talk about linking to live stream, promoting concerts and stuff like that. Mostly there seems to be only YouTube that's available for artists to do this.
Hmm. Certainly, YouTube are the platform that have um, put the most resources
Yeah.
into these kinds of features. The other one that we highlight is Twitch, actually, which do you can see that the users have certainly uh, placed importance on their profile designs and used the tools available to customize their profiles to attract the attention of the viewers to certain links in order to drive traffic to their merch stores and so on. So on Twitch, you can embed images which are clickable, and on your profile page, so it's not like on YouTube where it's like on the video page. It's on your profile page. You can add many links, and yeah, you can make them clickable to external websites.
Right. But do you see a lot of incentive for these platforms to allow their streamers or artists or users to be able to do this? Because in a way, what's in it for them?
Well, I think that's a good question, and I think that's why I don't think there is that much in it for them, which is why not that many platforms are doing it.
Yeah.
But something like Twitch, I think Twitch are kind of doing it, but they're not. You can tell that it's not a big focus for them.
Yeah.
They've given people the basic functionality really to embed clickable links in their profiles, which is a very basic feature really, and people are kind of using that in creative ways. But beyond that, it's not really. Twitch are not focusing on it. And then on YouTube, I think it's more kind of a company culture kind of issue, because Google's policy really is not necessarily to maximize revenue at all times. Most of Google's products are free.
Yeah.
And so
Very
Google,
ad supported and ad centric.
yeah, and so Google's approach is not necessarily how can we uh, how can we focus our resources to um, designing features that will make us money. Their focus is to improve the user experience and to improve the customer experience. So I think, although I'm not sure, that is the logic behind YouTube's investment in these areas.
Right.
Because ultimately, if they make available this merch shelf feature and the concert tickets feature, ultimately it improves the YouTube experience and it improves the monetization potential of YouTube. So ultimately, it will attract more YouTubers.
Yeah. And I think YouTube will obviously focus about how the artists and creators can create more content that can in turn help YouTube generate more revenue rather than help them sell their stuff on YouTube. They would want them to focus more on creating content rather than selling other pieces of their project, like a merchandise or a ticket to a concert and stuff like that, which is what YouTube might not want to encourage on their platform.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean that was all, I guess, for the off-platform thing. Because I mean,
Yeah.
straightforward. There's not much in that other than outlinking your other profiles and trying to maybe shift the traffic from YouTube. Actually, what's happening is I think a lot of artists on TikTok are slowly taking their following to YouTube, which is quite sensible because it's shifting from short form to long form video, and that's something that's quite sensible in terms of like putting your links out to other platforms and shifting your traffic from one place to another. So that's, I think, another topic in itself, probably.
Yeah. I is TikTok is TikTok's not accessible at the moment in India, is it?
No, no.
No. Yeah.
I
I
actually
can't.
have never been on TikTok because I just once downloaded the app and I saw a few videos, but after that I wasn't like regularly on it. And then because of the pandemic, it's become really big, and since that point it's been banned in India. So I have not really experienced TikTok the way it's being talked about
Mm,
right now.
yeah, I guess I haven't either. I was on it at the beginning,
I
but
was
then
kind of scared to admit that because I think
hey,
everyone's talking about TikTok, and I'm kind of scared to admit that I've not been on the TikTok train
oh
up
no,
until
don't
now.
worry. No, don't worry about it. Anyway, TikTok's old news now. You need to get on the next thing. You need to get on like share chat or whatever.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I think so. The conclusion, I guess, that's just the conclusion now. Of the article to kind of go over, and it's really, I think that overall, even though we've identified paywalls and memberships as the most promising monetization features,
mhm,
we do reason that it it will be hard to make a living. I mean, that what does that mean?
yeah,
You could debate it, but it's all things considered, our conclusion is that live streaming should be a component in a wider strategy for an artist.
Yeah.
So if you think normally you focus on, so you've got your music product and you drive streams, and then you weave in your concert announcements and and the ticket sales, all of these business opportunities for an artist work together. And our conclusion is really that live streaming has to also work in this system. It cannot be on its own
Yeah.
a revenue stream.
Yeah. Because I think every time there was some kind of a disrupting technology in the music industry, it has taken its own time to create its own space. For example, like when streaming came in, it was hard for people to sort of build models around streaming. And even today, even though we have Spotify and Apple Music and stuff, there's still so much complications regarding royalties and stuff like that, that it's still not a legitimate way to make money as an artist by streaming. It's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we are still trying to figure out how streaming can be a revenue stream for artists. But then now we have live streaming, which is again something for the future, and it will probably be a while before it becomes a legitimate um, stream for revenue.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, for live streaming, we still need some genius artists to kind of show us the way.
Yeah.
As a community of artists and labels, um, it often takes a small number of genius artists to use these platforms in
Yeah.
completely different ways that we never imagined, and
Yeah.
open everyone else's
Yeah.
eyes to what can be done, what a live stream can be. So I
Right.
think we're still kind of waiting for some of these uh, these shifts to happen. I think Travis Scott was a shift for sure, because
Yeah.
everyone just suddenly became aware
Yeah.
of what was possible in the kind of virtual concert space.
Yeah. Again, though, I think Travis Scott was already in a very um, strong position to be able to influence the industry or the audience in that way. Uh, I think um for someone to truly, you know, innovate on these platforms, it would have to be someone starting from scratch or something. Maybe I feel it could be someone from the big leagues showing the way, or it could be someone absolutely unknown trailblazing the whole
Yeah, you're right.
things.
I think the other example, which I end the article on, which I think is significant, is the Nick Cave example.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's not a huge global artist. He's kind of a niche alternative artist, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think what he did was very innovative, because he did precisely what we were talking about before, which was spin off a kind of remix alternative version of his live set for live streaming format.
Right.
So he performed a number of songs from his back catalogue but he performed them in new arrangements. So he performed them with solo piano, and the kind of theme of the performance and the live stream was pandemic, isolation, quarantine.
Right.
So he couldn't play with a band. So what he did was
Right.
he hired out a venue on his own, and he performed on his own at a piano some of his songs from his back catalogue. So he was providing, he was like you said, recycling his live show and his back catalogue of songs, and presenting them and himself in this kind of new remixed way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was very adaptive of him to take the theme of isolation and change the way you perform, and then go out and play it at a venue, record it, do all that.
Yeah.
So very quick thinking, on your feet thinking, and the I would say the daring to do something like this and make it happen successfully, which is also important.
Yeah. And I suppose that's where these kind of genius artists come in. They
Yeah,
are kind of fearless, and they do just kind of,
yeah,
they don't really think, they just do what makes sense to them, and often it's well, sometimes it can be actually quite radical. But I think that the bit that kind of blows my mind about that is that he he showed us that you could spin off your live set or your performance just by applying a completely unrelated concept like isolation. Like, he literally took a theme
yeah,
which was completely unrelated to music, and
yeah,
he applied it, and he managed to create a whole new
yeah,
experience. You know,
yeah,
it's like one thing to say, "Oh, I'm going to do it unplugged," or I'm going to do a kind of tutorial where I kind of live stream myself teaching people how to play the songs. Like, that's all
yeah,
kind of within the same kind of realm. You're still,
yeah.
it's kind of, but yeah, isolation, quarantine is just random almost.
Yeah. In fact,
But
Martin has been doing regular videos on Instagram. He plays on the piano and sings the songs, the Coldplay, and that's pretty much free for everyone. But then Nick Cave goes few steps above that and delivers an experience which is well thought of, curated, and very organized, as opposed to what Chris Martin does on Instagram. I mean, not taking anything away from what he does, but it's just that there's huge difference between how established artists or influencers are taking the concept of isolation and presenting it in different ways.
mm, yeah, that's true.
Right. So, I think, do you think we have covered the question about live streaming well, as to how it would fit in a world where live events are back? Was basically what my question was going to be.
I think it's a hard question to answer at this stage, to be honest. Um, it's hard to predict, how it's very hard to predict how people are going to adjust, going back to normal, assuming that we will. I mean, assume, thinking that we will just one day go back to normal is not. That's false. That won't happen. It's going to be
Yeah,
gradual over time,
yeah,
and you know, I was listening to a podcast, I think, the other day, and they were talking about some data that was released by Live Nation about concerts and about audiences' appetite for live music, and they report that the appetite for live events and concerts is still very high. They report that um, they gave ticket holders the option to get refunds or to keep their tickets, um, and to be able to use that ticket in the future to get into an event. And most people, according to them, chose to keep their tickets, not to get refunds. And so they're seeing still a very high demand for live music, and
right.
they're actually predicting, although honestly I think it's kind of made up, that when things do go back to normal, there's going to be a surge of people going. There's going to be a big wave of people going to live music again. So there's going to be a big surge in the revenues and so on. I mean, it's one interpretation, but honestly, I think I do think it's very hard to predict at this point how it's going to go back to normal, and how then um, live streaming is going to work. But the advantage that live streaming has is that it's international.
Yeah,
Concerts will always be restricted in space.
yeah,
So when we go back to normal, it might be that artists integrate live streams into their physical tours in order to access um, audiences further afield.
yeah. It basically will amplify their audience in real time.
Hmm. Yeah, but beyond that,
Well,
I don't have any predictions.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I generally speaking, I just feel that they both will be individually just you know, creating their own little world as and when things start to normalize. Because the way live streaming is being consumed right now might change once things start to normalize, and it will take a life of its own while live music is coming back to life.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It seems like they would sort of exist parallelly and sort of meet each other at times. The way artists choose to use the tools, they are both tools in the end for artists to grow.
Mm. Yeah, I think actually one element of live streaming which will most likely endure, which is impossible to translate in real life, it's the intimacy and fan engagement.
Right.
You know, there are meet and greets. If you go see Taylor Swift or whatever, you can pay hundreds of dollars to go backstage and get a photo and whatnot. Um, but I mean, that's really a super VIP ticket. It's very expensive. It's not accessible to everyone. You have to, to pay a lot of money. And so online, I think you can kind of access a similar level of intimacy with an artist, but much lower kind of cost, energy cost for the artist, and
Yeah.
an artist can engage from their home.
Exactly.
It's much more accessible. So, and there's much more. I think there are many more ways that artists and fans can engage via the internet as well.
Yeah.
So I think that will certainly endure um, beyond the pandemic.
Right. And yeah, I think about this question we've pretty much covered everything, and just have one final question, because this seems to be like a very hot topic in the music industry, is data analytics. And since you are working more on the technological side of things in the business, what do you know about data analytics, and what's your view on that?
Um, so are you referring to the usage data from Spotify, for instance?
Yeah.
So the number of streams, the number of subscribers that a platform has, like on the free tier, on the paid tier.
Yeah.
Mm. And what analysis, what analytics exactly are you referring to? Like in
uh,
what
as to
context?
how the artist can, at the moment, the data that is available to the artist is not uh, enough for them to take very productive action. But I've read articles where people vouch for Spotify to have a bit more transparency about the data that they are gathering from the audience, and give it back to the artist so they can use that data in a better way. Uh,
Mm.
so based off of that, I was wondering if data can be like a direct uh, thing that the artist can acquire from not just Spotify, but in the future, if there are companies that just focus on acquiring data about not just streams, but like concerts, as to who's bought the tickets, from where, how much money have they spent. Uh, like you said, if they have uh, memberships open on their platforms and they sell tickets through those, then even that data could be useful for artists to target a certain type of uh, event in a certain area, uh, reach out to people who you know bought the tickets instantly the first time, to sort of pre-book the tickets for the next show, stuff like that. So just having that data could make a big change in the way artists approach their album releases, or touring plans, or concerts, stuff like that, marketing campaigns and stuff like that.
Yeah. Um, as far as I know, Spotify obviously have Spotify for Artists, which where they make available geographic data. I think demographic data as well, not just the stream numbers. So I think there's the tools already available on the major platforms anyway, are already quite good. I think a company like Believe provides even more data because we have a special relationship with these services, and we place a lot of emphasis on data. So what we do is we collect the data every single day. We receive data from all the major platforms, and we've got a special team that ingests the data and makes it available. Um, so we have what we call Believe Backstage. So if you're a label with Believe, you have a login, and you can go in and you can see what we call daily data. So that's the number of streams you're getting, downloads every single day. And then you also get demographic data, you get link data, traffic data, and so on. So I think that the data side is already quite comprehensive, I'd say. But you're right when you say that it is siloed in the sense that until we have a kind of Amazon style company in the music industry that does everything, then we're not going to have all that data in the same place, because a Ticketmaster who's selling tickets, let's say, and gathering data about users can't share that information with Spotify. Like, as an artist, you have to go into all of these different portals to access that data. I'm not an expert about what the data Ticketmaster provides, but I guess they make available some kind of data. I'm not sure, but what I can say is that
they do make available who bought the ticket and how much they spent on it, as in how many tickets they bought and stuff like that.
That's quite basic, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I will say is that on Dice, that ticket gateway we talked about, they do make more data available. That's what really, I think we mentioned that in the article. That's really a good selling point for them, because I use them for not like that for my parties, and I was able to see not only how many tickets I sold, but to who, but I also got people's emails, and I was also seeing how many people simply saved the event. So people who not necessarily bought it but were interested.
Right.
And I also saw the demographic data, so age and I think gender.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're starting to get there, but the key thing to remember is that data is very sensitive information. So, and all of these companies have data confidentiality clauses in their agreements. So they are very restricted at how they can share their data.
Yeah. I just feel like overall, after a few years, when people are a bit more comfortable about giving out data to companies, which I think it will happen, because I feel that a lot of time has been invested in the internet by us, and then it would be kind of unfair for us to not sort of analyze that data and use it for our betterment. And if there are companies willing to do that, then we kind of have to let them do it, knowing that it won't be exploited in unethical ways. But it will help a lot if we do get that data in a certain way that we can use. Because, like, we hear this everywhere that information is the next uh, biggest, most expensive commodity in the world. So, with that view in mind, I feel like if there has to be like a big change in the music industry, which everyone keeps talking about, that we need a change, and stuff, this could be that thing that might tip the scales a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a far cry.
It's interesting, but you have to remember, I think in Europe they have GDPR now regulations in place. So what companies have to do to safeguard data, and the restrictions on collected data are the most advanced in the world. So there are obstacles towards gathering this information. And also, you have to remember that people people don't necessarily want to be advertised to all the time. Obviously, data is a valuable commodity for a business, which is essentially an artist is, and they will want to use that data as much as possible to sell whatever they're selling to the right people. Um, those powers of businesses to exploit that data have to be put in context, and people have to remember that. It's going to it ultimately damages the experience of the user experience on the internet to make that data too available, because then if anytime you go online, you're just constantly bombarded with ads, and then no one's going to go online anymore.
Yeah, but it does like still, a lot of the revenue on the internet is generated by ads, and if the process of displaying ads can be a bit more personalized in the sense that if you start seeing ads that really help you, like if you're looking for something right now and that ad pops up on your screen at that instant, then we would as humans find more meaning in ads than we ever did. I mean, there are sometimes I want to buy something and I'm going to like these different websites to read reviews and stuff and then picking the thing that I like the most. But then if at some point with AI and stuff, it develops a better understanding of our browsing habits and our selections and stuff, and it gives us the item that we think they think we might like, then the experience of ads might just change drastically, and we might see ads in a different light. And I believe in that a little bit because of the browser I'm using, called the Brave browser, and they they are like sort of centered around the whole concept of advertisement on a browser, and it's really interesting. They have their own cryptocurrency called BAT, which is a basic attention token, and you basically get paid for the attention that you're giving certain ads that are popping up on your browser. And you sort of get to select what kind of creators you want giving ads to you while you're browsing.
Yeah.
Stuff. So it's really streamlined, and this browser is created by the same person who created Mozilla Firefox.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So and you basically earn cryptocurrency by looking at ads, and then you can then exchange that currency for rupees.
Yeah. So currently on my browser, I have about 137 BAT tokens, which amount to about $27 US dollars.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah. And this is in India. Like, the ads and the money varies from country to country. I'm sure if you downloaded Brave browser and started using it, there are like not every website generates ads. There are not as many creators registered to the browser yet, but while you're browsing, there is a setting in your browser where you can turn on the function of ads, and you can choose up to how many ads you want to see per day. And based on that, you will start seeing ads as small blocks on the right hand side of your browser. And you don't even need to probably open them. You have to just click on close the ad, and slowly the BAT will start accumulating in your browser's wallet. And if you check, maybe after 3 months or something, you might have some money in your browser just by browsing.
That's amazing.
And the ads that I get are actually not that bad. They are like, they don't feel forced, and they seem to be from legitimate companies and stuff. So you don't feel dirty when they are like showing you those ads. You don't feel exploited at that point because you've chosen to receive those ads.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you can tip those creators like a monthly tip. You can put in the browser. You can just say that I want to tip a total of $5 monthly to all the creators that have shown me ads, and then that money will be divided accordingly to those creators and sent it back to them. So they get paid by you for showing them your own ads.
But you're paying what? You're paying a company to show you ads.
Yeah. Like
That's crazy.
yeah,
They
it's
shouldn't
called
be
a
paying
tip.
you.
It's called a tip, and if you click on one of the icons in the browser while you're on the website, and if you sort of like, this is basically for like, if you are a writer on Medium and you're writing a lot of nice articles and you have followers on your thing, and say someone who's on Medium gets an ad of Henry Prince's profile, and they go to that profile and they like that content, then they are sort of thanking you for making that content, and they are also getting paid to uh, watch the advertisement of your content.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's quite different.
Yeah.
Interesting. I can't imagine ever feeling the need or the inclination to tip an advertiser. But I maybe have like a particular relationship with advertising, and I find it very difficult to take in. I hate ads.
But the fact that I have $25 in my browser right now, just sitting there because I was just browsing the internet, is amazing.
Yeah, that is
Sitting in
very
India,
cool.
a friend of mine who uses Brave in America has like about $60 to $100 in his wallet because of the amount of ads he's.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really interesting. People really want that personalization.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna have to go soon.
yeah, man. It's been a long, long chat, and we're done also with everything that we have to cover. So thank you so much for doing this. It was lovely chatting with you.
Yeah, and you. It's my pleasure.